Hello, my name is Nikki and I'm going to discuss why I believe consumers will not pay more for green products or services. Although consumer attitude is changing in light of increasing awareness of global warming and sustainability, comparison of consumers' beliefs in relation to consumer behaviour are conflicting. Professor Timothy Davini, an author of the book The Myth of the Ethical Consumer, argues that conscience-driven shopping does not exist. The professor says there's a belief that values drive purchasing behavior, but in reality, many other things also influence consumer behavior, such as price, quality, and value. He believes that there's a disconnect between the values people express and the actual uptake of ethical products on the market. In his book, Professor Davini discusses an experiment that was designed to test consumer behavior using fair trade coffee. The experiment showed that an individual's preference for fair trade products was influenced by how public the purchase was. When customers were asked to purchase fair trade coffee, only 1% were motivated to do so. However, if they were asked at the counter if they would like the fair trade coffee, 30% were happy to buy it, and if they weren't asked in earshot of another customer, the rate jumped up to 70%. According to Davini, people will make what they think are better choices in one area of their lives, but not necessarily in another. For example, someone may be passionate about buying free-range eggs, but they won't recycle. Price and convenience are also factors for most consumers. Michael Volkov, a lecturer in consumer behavior at Deakin University, argues that consumers are price sensitive in the current economic climate, particularly when it comes to ethical products. Consumers are ethical up to a certain point. His research has found that there is a threshold for which consumers will pay a premium for green products and services, but that threshold differs for different people. The 2016 Nielsen Global Corporate Sustainability Report indicates that consumers are willing to pay more for green. 66% of survey respondents were willing to pay more for sustainable goods, which actually increased from 55% in 2014 and 50% in 2013. Sales of consumer goods from brands with a demonstrated commitment to sustainability have grown more than 4% globally, while those without grew less than 1%. Millennials are the most willing to pay extra for sustainable offerings. Almost 3 out of 4 respondents, equaling up to 73%, which increased approximately by half from numbers in 2014. Commitment to the environment has the power to sway product purchase for 45% of consumers surveyed. The report highlights that sales of consumer goods from brands with a demonstrated commitment to sustainability have grown more than 4% globally, while those without a sustainability commitment grew less than 1%. Carol Goldstuff from Nielsen, who conducted the survey, explains that the report provides an opportunity for brands that have already built a high level of trust with consumers to evaluate where best to introduce sustainable products into the market to help drive growth. She explains further that, on the flip side, large global brands that ignore sustainability increase reputational and business risk. This may give competitors of all sizes an opportunity to build trust with the predominantly young, socially conscious consumer who is looking for products that more align with their values. This highlights that sustainability is important to consumers, and companies who do not conduct themselves in a sustainable manner will likely fail in comparison to companies who do. Consumers and markets are unwilling to pay more for sustainability, but more than willing to boycott the product or service where sustainability is lacking. Companies that can produce products that are sustainable but also cost and function the same as non-green competitors will find overwhelming market acceptance and will find that consumers will be more likely to consume green given the same cost. Consumers want sustainable products and services, however, they don't want to compromise for it. There is plenty of evidence that indicates that consumers will consistently tell surveys that they are willing to pay more for socially and environmentally superior products, but when it comes to the time of purchase, consumers are rarely choosing to pay more for green products and services. For example, a utility company in the US surveyed ratepayers asking if they would pay a small premium for green electricity. The response was overwhelmingly yes. However, when the product was offered, Fewer than 5% actually signed up. A notable result of the 2016 Nielsen report was, despite the fact that millennials are coming of age in one of the most difficult economic climates in the past few years, they continue to be the most willing to pay extra for sustainable offerings. As indicated earlier, 3 out of 4 respondents said they would pay more for green products or services, which has increased from results obtained in 2014. The rise in the percentage of respondents under 20 was also equally as strong, increasing from 55% of total respondents in 2014 to 72% in 2015. Mr. Farage, a colleague also from Nielsen, noted that brands that establish a reputation for social responsibility and environmental stewardship among today's youngest consumers have an opportunity to not only grow market share, but build loyalty among the power-spending millennials of tomorrow. Commitment to social and environmental responsibility is surpassing some of the more traditional influences, and many consumers and businesses that fail to take this into account will likely fall behind. A recent McKenzie survey of 500 executives found that companies will pay a premium for green products and services only if they can charge their customers more down the line. When surveyed, 1,000 consumers in Europe and the US found that many consumers will pay more, but only up to a point. Upward of 70% of consumers surveyed about purchases in the automotive, building, electronics, furniture, and packaging categories said they'll pay an additional 5% for a green product if it met the same performance standards as a non-green alternative. But as the premium increases, the willingness to pay reduces. For all but one category, less than 10% of consumers said they would choose green products if the premium rose to 25%. In terms of the parts of the world that is more likely to pay for green products or services, it was found that surveyed respondents from the Asia-Pacific region were the most willing consumers to pay more for products with social benefits, surpassing the global average at 64%. European respondents seemed the least willing at 40%, although that figure has still increased from 2011. While many companies' dedication to social responsibility and sustainability are genuine, consumers are wary of greenwashing, where a company markets itself as charitable, but is only to draw in customers. For example, if a clothing company gives proceeds towards an environmental cause, but uses harmful chemicals during manufacturing, or doesn't pay its workers a living wage, these proceeds don't make much of a positive impact, and a little research by the consumer goes a long way. In 2015, popular motor vehicle brand Volkswagen had intentionally programmed 11 million engines marketed as clean diesel to activate certain emission controls only during laboratory testing. The cars actually produced up to 40 times more emissions in real-world driving conditions. More than 90,000 cars had to be recalled in Australia, and the responsibility on consumers hindered the willingness to seek for green products as a result. Consumers are found to be lazy and do not expect to do the research themselves, and could therefore be susceptible to greenwashing. A bad experience may also deter consumers from paying a premium for green products. Many consumers say that they think it's important for brands and companies to behave ethically, but consumer behavior suggests otherwise. While many consumers express pro-social and ethical attitudes, when it comes to payment, consumers typically do not put their money where their mouth is. Consumers consistently say they want more sustainable products and services, but are often unwilling to pay the premium. Polsky, a researcher cited from Spend Matters, agrees that consumers care about a company's sustainability and ethical sourcing efforts, and it may reward it with brand loyalty, but in the end, they generally don't want to pay more for the products or services. However, attitudes are changing, and as noted in the Nielsen report findings, more consumers are increasingly vocalizing their willingness to pay more for green products and services. For consumers, beliefs to be truly reflected, their purchasing behavior has to change. Perhaps with millennials acting as the leaders for change, in time, this could influence a greater change for consumers to to pay me more for green goods in the future, rather than just vocalizing their willingness to.